So this is my sixth flight of the DJI Mini 4K, and this was supposed to be a really nice video of the Middletown Psychiatric Hospital, the abandoned or closed mental hospital, and it wasn't supposed to have narration. Unfortunately, the plan did not work out. I originally thought it would be fairly simple: park in front of the building, throw the drone up in the air, get a nice circle view from the top, maybe get a couple of closer shots towards the windows and at ground level, but that didn't really work out. So instead of just getting rid of this video altogether, I figure I use it as a talking point to express how I'm learning, and hopefully that'll help someone else out. Unfortunately, when I got here, I had a bunch of problems. The first was it was very windy. I got a couple of strong wind warnings. The second was I didn't take into account all of the trees, even though I should have remembered. I didn't really think about it. I didn't really think about all the obstacles, and that is going to be a problem later. Not a big one, but I do end up having my first and then followed by my second crash. It was fine though, thankfully. The other problem I had was once I got the drone up in the air and I saw what this building looked like from the sky, I realized, one, it's way bigger than I thought it was, and two, it was not the shape I expected. Usually with buildings this large, you kind of think of just a traditional block, maybe a rectangle shape. And that was kind of what I had in my mind from seeing it at ground level. But I did not expect this. I did not expect this shape, which was very interesting. But it also meant that it would be a little difficult because what I had originally planned was to not only do the overhead shot, but to actually have the drone start at like one corner of the building, maybe at like the third floor height, and then kind of just slide to the side of it and record the entire building. But with this shape, you can't really do that. So that was another problem, not to mention the fact that it's completely surrounded by trees, which, unless I get closer to the drone so that I can actually see how close the drone is to like branches, I'm not going to fly in that kind of situation. But I did get some good shots, and I do plan on coming back when it's not so windy and just try to plan it better so that I can get some better shots. Maybe try to get there when the sun is more directly overhead and not close to sunset, because as you can see, it creates a lot of shadows, and in other areas the sun is gonna blind the drone. What you're seeing here is actually towards the top of the screen is actually my car, where I'm just sitting behind it controlling the drone. And to the right is another car that's kind of just parked in the middle of the road. And it's kind of troubling because at the time, I didn't know that car was there. And a couple of times during the shots, you actually see somebody walking around. I had no clue that somebody was right there next to me. Not that it was a problem or anything, but it just means that I don't have as much situational awareness when I'm flying this drone because I'm too busy looking at what the drone sees. But I'm not really focused on anything around me. Now this is a pretty nice view because the front, I'm assuming that's the front actually, or it could be the back of the hospital, is completely off limits. So there's a fence further out that keeps people from actually getting closer, and then there's some walls and barricades and another building that's actually open that kind of prevents you from being able to get too close. So I didn't even know that existed. So it's kind of cool that I can do that with this drone. what I did want to do, or I thought I would be able to do, was fly the drone very close to the building so that I can get the perception of actually walking on the building, on the roof of the building, or being close to the windows. But very quickly I realized that that would have been a very risky mistake, especially if something happened and the drone had to do an emergency landing. I would not be able to retrieve this drone unless I was willing to risk trespassing first off in a unsafe building, and then I would actually have to find my way to the drone. I did not take those risks. I get close a couple of times, but I very quickly realize that I'm playing with fire, so I back it out. But right now, what I'm looking at is what on the ground looked like a wall. It just looked like a regular concrete wall. But from the air, it's actually a part of the building. And it's probably a long hallway that connects the abandoned building to this possibly newer building. Now, I don't know if it actually connects. I don't know if there's access or if it's walled off on the inside. But the fact that it's there and it's not a wall, is kind of cool. I didn't realize that. Now, I really would love to see this building used or utilized in some way because it's kind of sad. It's just sitting there doing nothing. It's a huge building. Now, of course, I would like to see it used for something beneficial to the neighborhood and not just have some corporation just buy it just to put something else in there and kind of ruin the aesthetic. You know, maybe turn it into something that consumers can use, or I guess leave it the way it is. I just wish I had access to it. Really, at the end of the day, that's all I wish I had, because I'm sure it's very interesting inside, but I would never run the risk of going in there. Now, the fact that there's graffiti everywhere, especially on the rooftop, means that other people did not have that same fear of trespassing, and they have gone in there plenty of times. But I'm pretty sure it's just dangerous in the sense that might fall through a floor, or something might fall on you or collapse on you. So I would never risk it. But again, I'm at this point I'm trying to get just a nice cinematic view of the building. I'm having trouble because I can go forward and back pretty easily. You know, it's just push forward, push back, and it looks good. The drone does the job for you. But trying to get that view where you're kind of going around the building, I just don't have the skill yet. And I do want to come back and try to use the quick shots because I think that will actually allow me to get the shots that I want, where it goes a nice smooth circle around the building. I just got to make sure I do it on a day that's not very windy because, as I said, I think I got 3 different warnings while I was flying that it was too windy. Now, the warnings did go away once I kind of went down a little bit, so I'm assuming the high winds was actually higher up in the atmosphere. So once I kept it closer to the building, it was not so bad. You wouldn't be able to tell though from this footage because it's so smooth. The gimbal does such a good job. So at some point, I wanted to fly lower and get some shots of like that window, maybe try to see if I could actually see inside that open window. I also wanted to get a almost a of a first person view of someone like walking up towards the building. if you remember, I was parked pretty far away actually. So it's really hard to see this little drone once it gets a certain distance away. So right now, I'm trying to line up a shot from just using the camera and also looking at the drone. And from my perspective, looking at the drone, it doesn't match what the camera's seeing. So that is kind of problematic. So again, I'm just trying to like figure out where I'm at. I only noticed the power lines like at the last second. So I had to fly up over so that I can now get it just low enough so that I don't hit a power line. Um, and again, this is all practice at this point. I pretty much realized that this video was not going to work, at least not the way I wanted it to, but I figured let's try. And as you see, I'm about to fly into a power line, and I caught it at the last second. I saw it on the screen at the very last second and was able to lower altitude to avoid it. And this part kind of looks nice, except that I wanted it to be more towards the little path. I wanted the path to be in the center of the shot. And as you can see, I'm kind of moving over. And again, I almost hit something. It's terrifying because from far away, you can't see where the drone is. And then the field of view for the camera, it's not going to show you everything. So right now, again, I'm about to hit something. This was the shot that I was trying to get, which was again just kind of flying up into the front of the building. Unfortunately, as I said, it didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to. So now I'm just kind of trying to survey the area, trying to get an idea as to what I could do next. And as you can see, it's just there's too many obstacles. I can't really do much unless I physically stand like right underneath the drone so that I can see all the obstacles next to the drone, which is something I kind of didn't want to do. And that's the first crash. So I started backing it up, and of course I didn't see. Now, it didn't actually crash, which was great. It kind of fixed itself, and I didn't realize. And then I tried to bring it back out, and I hit the top of a branch on a small tree, and this time it got stuck. So with that crash, I basically turned off the camera, kind of ran over. Luckily, the tree was small, so I was able to just reach up and free the drone with no major issues. At which point, now I'm next to the drone, so I might as well just stand next to it and continue flying. And again, there's not much I can do here. My skill set is non-existent at this point because again, this is only like my sixth time flying this thing, and I'm just trying to get the hang of it. I'm trying to be able to control the drone, get it to where it's looking where I want it to look and be oriented where I want it to be. It's a little tricky. Now, what I'm trying to do here is I want to get as close to that open window as possible. So I'm standing, I would say, maybe more like 100 feet away, I would say, from the drone at this point. So I can see how close it is to the building. Now, I didn't want to get physically close myself to the building because even though it's daytime outside, it's still kind of a secluded area, and I try not to put myself in potential danger, so I kind of want to stay away from it, but I do want to get the drone close. And unfortunately, it's just too dark in there and too bright outside to see anything. But again, I wanted to try to get the drone close. Now, although in the video, it actually looks like I got really close. I didn't. The field of view kind of plays tricks on your perception of distance. So I didn't want to get any closer than that because I figured one of two things could happen. Something goes wrong and it falls on top of that awning, which I would not be able to get to, or worse, it flies into the window, into that room, and then crashes. And then I have to get into the building to try and find it. So at this point, I've already given up on that shot. And now I am actually walking behind the drone. So I'm only like maybe 5 feet away from the drone. And I am guiding it through this little path because I figured maybe this will look cool. I'm purposely getting close to objects now just to kind of give a little scare factor, I guess. But because I'm right there, it's nothing's gonna happen. So at this point, my plan was there's this little road that goes behind the building, or to the side of the building, I should say. I wanted to get the drone at that road, as well as myself at that road, and then use the drone to go down that road and then record that little courtyard. I've been down this little path on my EUC. I don't dare walk into it though, because with the EUC, I can quickly get out if I need to. It's less of a sketchy situation. If I'm on foot, I am not confident that I can move fast enough to actually get out. So now I'm just standing at the end of that little roadway, and I'm just guiding the drone, trying to stay very far away from the branches of these trees. Because if it falls here, well then now I have to walk in there and get it, which is not terrible as long as it's not behind a fence, on a roof, or in the building. But again, I really don't know what to expect from this area. But it did look cool. As I said, I have recorded through here before, but usually I'm on the EUC and I don't stop. I usually drive in, just make a circle, and then get out. I never actually stop. It does look creepy though. And in my mind, I think, oh, I can, this is what I can do with the drone. And then when I actually go out with the drone, I realize, no, that's not going to work. For example, I'm thinking I can fly the drone right up against these windows so that I can see inside. But in reality, I don't have the skill set to confidently fly up against towards the window, like right up against a window, without potentially crashing into the window or going through the window into the building. So I'm not going to actually do those shots. So this is the best I can do at the moment. And even then I was terrified of this because I couldn't really see the drone in relation to like the trees. So I kind of just flew a little bit closer to the building and figured I'm close enough that the tree should not be a problem. And again, I'm just trying to get the hang of maneuvering the drone. You notice that car just pulled out. But again, my situational awareness is just non-existent. What's happening right now is I'm actually trying to send it home because a few seconds ago, while it was still up in the air, I got the low battery warning because I've been flying for almost 20 minutes. So now I'm trying to get it home, and it's actually going home ahead of me because home was by the car, whereas I was walking with the drone. So I kind of lost track of where the drone was, turned off the home function, and I'm trying to land the drone while trying to see where it's at. eventually I do see that it's closer to me than to the car, so I figured just bring it down, grab it, and go home.